that grass. It's time to show up to get it right. And not just be right. The tougher it gets, the better you become.
A lot of ball left, boys.
It's a shared commitment to be fully available and to believe in one thing: embracing the standard. In those highly competitive situations, how will you respond? It's the ability to be fearlessly authentic, to be composed, poised, humble, unafraid to attack head-on without fear. Be persistent, relentless, determined. Leave nothing.
Welcome to McLean Stadium for the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. I'm Brooke Bednarz alongside Derek Smith and the voice of the Bears, John Morris. Guys, how is it going? We're back, and it feels like football weather.
Oh, it does,
I'm
doesn't
enjoying this cooler weather out here today.
Welcome to November. November finally arrived in Central Texas.
About time.
Yeah.
You've got a crisp fall afternoon, check. You've got a Big 12 game with Big 12 title implications on the line. You've got a night game on national television. It's November. It feels like November football.
Absolutely.
And a meaningful game, a really meaningful game. Baylor and Kansas State tied for second, along with Texas, in the Big 12 standings, trailing TCU. And for the Bears, those other three schools, we play them all over the last 3 weeks.
Right. It all comes down to this Big 12 race. It's been the talk of the town tonight at the exact same time. College Game Day was down in Austin for the second time this year, and we have a big matchup between TCU and Texas. I know there's going to be a lot of eyes watching that one, but a lot of eyes on this one because it's down to the wire now.
You know, Coach Aranda has talked about things being simple but not easy, and I think that's the way you look at Baylor in the month of November to get to the Big 12 title game.
Right.
It's pretty simple. You win and you're in.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be easy. But you look at the way the schedule's lined up, who would have imagined at the beginning of the year, but I think we really couldn't have asked for a better way to close out the season than playing the three teams either tied with us or ahead of us.
I know, and if you're a Baylor fan, this is exciting. You get two of those at home, big games when it's all on the line, and today for a sold-out crowd with the unofficial blackout, the students rallied that one together.
Yeah.
It's an exciting time out here on Touchdown Alley.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So that started with the student body saying this should be a blackout, and nobody disagreed with that.
Right. It's a night game.
Yeah, and so student-initiated and fan-driven, which is great. Now, the team doesn't have black uniforms, so that's not going to happen, and it never would have happened. You know, it's not like Baylor saying, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
We don't have black uniforms.
They're not in the closet.
That's right. That's right. So, but the fans are certainly excited about it. And as I was walking out here to Touchdown Alley, a lot of folks in black for the game tonight.
Well, and this is such a big game. Hey, what gets fans out here, you want to see them out here. The team needs them. These guys have put themselves in position after a tough start to Big 12 to play for something meaningful, and you want to see that fan support. So whatever color you're wearing, green, gold, black, whatever, I hope they come out and be loud
We're
tonight.
sporting it all.
That's right.
Well, let's talk about the series between these two teams. It's been tight games. It's been close, but it's been an exciting game every single time.
It's hard hitting. It's a bruising game every time these two teams play. John, you were there last year in Manhattan. You could almost feel it through the TV, through your radio call. They're always close. The series is 10-9. You know, it's always
10
close
to 9.
Play. Yeah,
close. And a lot of those have been decided by just short amount of points.
Last year was 20-10 up in Manhattan, and that was the game Gary Bohannon pulled his hamstring late in the second quarter. Who comes in? Blake Shapen finishes off the game, did well, 16 of 21, I think, for 137 yards, and won the game, basically, with Shapen coming off the bench. And here, a year later, Blake Shapen fully entrenched as our starting quarterback.
Absolutely. So definitely exciting to see. Something we also want to take note of is this is our military appreciation game. As you're walking around, you're going to be able to see a lot of things to that, a lot of tributes to that throughout today's game. And so we want to take a moment to remember all the veterans who have served and continue to serve for our great country.
Today we kick off our salute to heroes by coming together to reflect and remember those who protect and preserve our home. It is because of your sacrifices that we're able to gather here and enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To those serving at home and abroad, to the heroes who have risked their lives to protect ours, thank you. Not just today, but every day. Thank you for your sacrifice, your commitment, your dedication. We salute you.
Welcome back to the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. We're out here for a big matchup between the Kansas State Wildcats and the Baylor Bears in the race for that Big 12 championship matchup. John, we have ourselves quite the legend here.
We got a legend this week. Isn't that fun?
Yes, we do.
From Baylor football mid-70s, Ken Quisenberry is with us. Welcome to you. We appreciate you being here. Congratulations on the honor of being the Kelly Realtors B Association Legend of the Game.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful.
Glad you're here. You live up in Tulsa now. How often do you get back to Baylor games?
Well, we came back for the Oklahoma State game.
Okay.
I try to get to a couple a year.
Gotcha. Good. Very good. It's such great memories about the time you were here, especially that 74 season.
Oh, my goodness.
And this past week was the anniversary. It was November 9th, 1974, the win over Texas.
Yeah.
That is, was the seminal moment really in that Miracle on the Brazos season.
Yeah.
What do you, when you think back on the season as a whole, what do you remember?
Well, I remember that we had come in last the year before. We didn't win a conference game. We were just awful. And we all made the commitment that we weren't going to let that happen again. And so we came back with a renewed commitment to fight for one another because there wasn't anybody else that believed in us.
Right.
And our motto became I Believe. And when we came back from 24-7 down at the half to Texas and rolled over them in the second half, and Darrell Royal came into our locker room after the game and congratulated us. And, we ran off 5 wins in a row, and it was just the miracle.
Yeah.
All the Brazos. We're so grateful to be a part of that.
That's terrific.
What a moment to have him walk in your locker room.
Yeah, it was great.
That has to be.
He said you.
That doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, he said
exactly.
you boys whipped our butts today. He said just don't look back because somebody be nipping at your heels.
Wow.
Quiz, what did that game feel like when you were down? Did you always sense you were coming back? That game's taken on such a legend. You almost maybe forget what it might have been like to be in it.
Well, it was very calm in the locker room at halftime. We had scored on like the first play of the game, and then it was raining, and they came out in that wishbone two tight end formation and just bowled us down the field for 3 straight touchdowns. And it ended up 24-7, but we made a halftime adjustment on defense and moved 9 men up on the line of scrimmage because they were still in 2 tight ends when they came out. And we blocked a punt after we held them 3 and out and scored shortly after that. And now we were in a dogfight. So that's kind of how we got it going.
Quiz, I think you were part of Coach Taft's first recruiting class.
Yes,
is that
sir.
right? So
Yeah.
72, he comes in. Today is Coach Taft's birthday, by the way, which is
Yeah.
great. Happy birthday to Coach
Yeah,
Taft.
happy
what,
birthday.
What was that like? I mean, what was that recruiting pitch? Him brand new to Baylor. How'd you end up here?
Well, I wasn't going to come visit, and the coach that came to recruit me was Cotton Davidson. He was one of my boyhood heroes. My father was a coach in Dallas in high school, and he was the voice of the Cotton Bowl and announced all the games, and I'd seen Cotton play as a kid. And so I agreed to come down there and visit, and when I met Coach Taft, that was it for me.
Yeah.
He sold me on the idea that I could be a part of a foundation of a winning program for years to come, and they'd never forget me.
Yeah.
And guess what?
That's true. And
here
you're back
you
as a
are.
legend. he was shooting you straight, wasn't he?
He sure was.
Well, I have a question for you. I have here, you led the team with 3 interceptions in 1974.
Yeah.
That's something that this team right here, that
Yeah.
they have the most interceptions in back-to-back games in 42 years.
Yeah.
So as someone who's had that and knows what it's like to get that big moment pick, how exciting is that to see these Baylor Bears out there getting it done like that?
It's great. Most teams ran the wishbone formation back when I played, so they didn't throw a
It
whole
made
lot.
it harder
So
to-
3 interceptions was pretty good to
That's
get,
right.
but these guys are all over it, and they have been, and they teach takeaways that they're saying they got, and they're all over it, and I just hope they get some pressure on the quarterback tonight, and if they do, we'll get some more.
Quiz, so coming back here to Baylor McLean Stadium, you think about the foundation that Coach Taft talked about, and look at how far it's come now. What to you seems the biggest time? What to you seems like, wow, we've come a long way when you come back?
Well, just everything along the campus and along the river, it was all vacant fields back then. It was 50 years ago when I enrolled at Baylor, and so, there wasn't much around on this side of the river. There was nothing over here on this side of the river. And most of it was intramural fields beyond just the buildings, the old main and the dormitories and that sort of thing. So just the overall atmosphere and game day atmosphere, there wasn't that much tailgating back then. This is really a wonderful thing that Baylor has done, and they've grown it. And, man, I'm just so glad to be back here and be a part of it tonight.
Let's take a look at this. What do we have here?
Oh, nice.
That is the 40th anniversary edition of our Southwest Conference championship ring.
That
Nice.
is
Very
nice.
When we came back in 2014, they reissued our rings.
Yep. Very cool. That's
Sharp
great.
looking ring.
Thank you.
Great memories, and it's so exciting to have you back. We appreciate it. Congratulations on being named the B Association Legend of the Game, and thanks for visiting with us.
Thank you very much.
Great
Good to
seeing
see
you.
you.
Yeah,
Sick 'em
thanks
Bears.
very much.
Beat K-State.
You heard them. Sick'em Bears beat K-State. We'll be right back with more of the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. Don't go anywhere. We got a lot of exciting things to talk about. don't know about y'all, but I am pumped. It is a night game. Baylor running into the dark. That is the name of that video that we just watched and radio listened to. Welcome back to the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. We have some additions to the desk right now. Elliot Coffey, our defensive analyst, and the one and only Seth Russell, our offensive analyst. It is great to have you guys back and in black for this unofficial blackout led by the students and all of you fans out there rocking the black today. How do you feel? This is pretty exciting.
I got to tell you, man, this is the energy.
Pull that up so we can hear
pull
it.
this up
We
here.
want to hear what you have to say.
Come on. This energy is reminiscent. I think this thing is really trying to fight me today. This energy is reminiscent of like the old blackouts, right?
Yeah.
Where the teams kind of had that chip on their shoulder where we knew we were pretty good, but the whole country wasn't paying attention the way that we wanted it to, and now it's kind of coming back around. We've got a 3-game stretch where if we go out there and win out, we're back in the Big 12 championship, and we're knocking some heads in the way there.
Yeah.
So the excitement's here, man. I'm fired up. I'm wearing black. I got a black jacket in there too. It's cold later. I'm ready to go, baby.
Yeah, it's like don't discredit us. We're right here. It's the race to the Big 12 championship. It's an exciting time to be a Baylor Bear.
Yeah, I don't think, Elliot, you took a breath that entire comment. So I couldn't tell you're not excited.
Right now.
I couldn't tell that you're that excited. Right. But, we're pumped to be here. I mean, this is exactly where we wanted to be. Just a chance to go out and prove ourselves again today. And, everybody's rooting against us, right? Nobody likes the Big 12, especially the committee for some reason. It's just another great day to play some football, and it's finally feeling like football weather with it being a little bit chilly outside today. So it'll be good to see them knock some heads.
It's only fitting our first Big 12. This is our first Big 12 night game at home in a long time. It's only fitting that there's a little bit of a chill in the air. Big 12 on the line. It just feels right. But man, it's been a while.
It has
2019 since we played a Big 12 home game at night.
Yeah, it really has.
It's high time.
It's about time.
My
It's about time. Well, we have a sold-out game tonight. So not only is it everything that we've just talked about, but the place is going to be rocking. McLean Stadium is going to be filled to the brim. And we need to take a moment to talk about one individual, Mr. Todd Behringer. If you've been in McLean Stadium before, you have seen his name on the wall, the Behringer Recruit Lounge. It's a very special place for all those recruits who come to visit Baylor in hopes of one day being on the team. But Todd Behringer this week, he reached out and he bought all the remaining tickets to provide a free opportunity for all of these fans to pack the house because he saw how important tonight's game was. And I think that just says a lot about this Baylor community, this Waco community, and how they all truly rally around this team when there's a big game on the line.
Yeah, needless to say, he's bought in to the program.
Literally and figuratively.
No pun intended, but full pun intended. He's – I'm sure if other guys had the opportunity, they would step in. They just maybe didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Todd's been always that guy that has always shown support, on the good days and the bad. And he's a great dude, great family. I mean, huge supporter, Waco through and through. And, it just shows the support for him to go out and, take money out of his pocket and make sure that fans can go out and enjoy and support the team that they love.
Absolutely. So a special thank you to Mr. Behringer and his family for all of their generosity. But let's talk about this Big 12 race. It is down to the wire. When you look at Baylor's schedule moving forward, we got Kansas State tonight, TCU at home, go get your tickets, at home next weekend, and then we finish it off with Thanksgiving weekend on that Friday at Texas down in Austin, which is only an hour-and-a-half trip. Go get your tickets. So when you think about all of that and knowing that it's come down to these 4 teams, and it's right here, you've got to be excited to know that it's in your hands moving forward. You got to win and take care of business.
If you want to be the champ, you got to knock out the champ, right?
There you
so
go.
Right now, that's Baylor, right? We've got control of our own destiny, which is all you can ask for in November, right? If we go out there and we win these next 3 games, we go to the Big 12 championship with an opportunity to do it again. And we don't have to wait for Texas to win a game or TCU to win a game or Kansas State to win a game. We control our own destiny, and that's the biggest piece of this. And on top of that, you're starting to see us, outside of maybe being a little bit sick last week with the flu game, really starting to click.
Yeah.
Right? Everything's kind of starting to fall into place for us. And so I'm optimistic on this team, man. I think that this is the exact moment. This is the situation you want to be in, a night game under the lights in Waco to start this kind of 3-game stretch that we have to win another one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, just to add to that, I mean, this game is do or die, right? If we don't win today, then there may not be a tomorrow. And so I know these guys are going to take that to heart. I mean, they're, like I said, what Elliott said is just they are feeding off the past 2 weeks, and just the momentum is huge for this team right now. And if they can continue to build off that, which I anticipate them to do that today, especially on the defensive side, takeaways are huge, right? They're momentum changers, and just being able to keep that on our side, the momentum being home game, night game, crowd's going to be livid today and tonight, and I expect it to be a knockdown drag out, but it should be a good one.
Well, and with Quisenberry,
Yes.
last segment, we talked with him about those interceptions, and just like you said, we're seeing that defense click. We're kind of seeing this team find their identity. At the beginning of the season, we were talking about the Jalen Petries and the Terrell Bernards, and now we're talking about these guys.
Yeah.
This team making the big plays that have gotten us here, and so we're kind of seeing it come full circle, and I'm loving what I'm seeing, and I think we're right there. We're where we want to be at the right pace at the right time.
I'm telling you, man, we've been talking about creating turnovers, right? What that does for the offense, what that does. This is an incredibly emotional and momentous game. It swings in opposite directions, and things like turnovers, things like sacks, the big plays that we're starting to see show up that maybe weren't there earlier on in the season are starting to swing that momentum in our favor. And the thing about winning is contagious. And so is losing. Look at what's happened in Morgantown today with OU.
Yeah.
Right? So when you start to win, it starts to feed off of itself, and it starts to grow, and that's where we're headed.
That's where we're headed. We will be right back after this break. Don't go anywhere. We got more of the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show right after this. Welcome back to the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show here on Touchdown Alley. We got a big matchup between the Kansas State Wildcats and the Baylor Bears. We've talked about it till we're blue in the face, but this Big 12 race is really going to come down to execution. That's something Coach Aranda has preached: energy, edge, and then finally you got to execute. And when you execute, you really knock down that opponent, and it totally changes the momentum of the game if you are in control. So I think that's what we're going to need to see here tonight, especially on offense. But let's start with quarterback Blake Shapen, who Coach Aranda has said his confidence and his stability and his ease into this game is becoming contagious. And would you agree with that? How have you seen him grow this year?
Yeah, I mean, he's a totally different quarterback from game one to now, which that's what you want from a young quarterback coming in, starting, first year as a starter, maybe a little rocky, shaky up front, maybe Grimes pulled them back a little bit. Hey, closed off the playbook. Hey, just get confident, understand what your receivers are doing. Hey, what's our offensive line? You know, they're one of the top ranked coming in the country. Are they going to establish that early? Right, kind of fell off on that early on, but I think over the year the momentum has just continued to grow and grow. And I think Sean Bell and that coaching staff in the quarterback room has done an amazing job with Chapin just to continuing to develop him. I mean, that's just been his development and his composure moving forward, his confidence, just sitting in the pocket. You know, hey, two weeks in a row, right? He lost the ball on just a silly sack, right? Taking his hands off the ball, but we saw that last week where he's moving up in the pocket, keeping both hands on the ball. I mean, it's huge, right? Because you can still stay compact and composed where you don't have to feel like you're, flaring everywhere, and you can get the ball out really quick when you're moving. And so his decision making has been really great. I think that one interception was just he overthrew it a little bit, led him a little bit. Maybe it was just bad timing or what did that look like. But I mean, just seeing him with what he's done up to this point, I'm really impressed, and I continue to expect him to improve and have a great night tonight.
Every team changes a little bit throughout the years. This one's been a big change for Baylor.
Yeah.
So Kansas State is obviously a different team than they were last year. But when you look at the fact that that was the game that Gary Bohannon was injured and that Blake Shapen stepped in and really claimed it as his own and took over that offense, do you think that kind of gives him more of a little bit of confidence going into this game because he knows he's played this group before?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's hard because you know what the looks are going to look like, but it's going to be totally different players, right? So speed is going to look a little bit different. I mean, but just more or less it's going to come down to the game plan, right? I know Grimes and the coaching staff is going to put these guys in a position to win. They just have to go out and execute, right? Last week, that's exactly what they did. Throwing the ball wasn't kind of our lean on, right? Running it was big last week. I think we got like 6 yards a carry last week or average, which I anticipate that to roll over. I know Kansas State has done a great job this year of stopping the run game. But I think that's obviously what we say day in and day out, week in and week out, is establish the run game early so that it opens up the pass game for this team.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be exciting because Monterey Baldwin, Aranda admitted, was dealing with a hamstring last week, sorry, but should be good to go today. I'm excited to see him back out there.
You got weapons, right?
Yeah.
And I think the emergence of Blake and his comfort on the field is based off of his running back room, right? We can put this on Richard Reese, right? Number 1 as a running back in the conference in rushing touchdowns right now. But him and then the emergence of Hal Presley, what he's been able to do for us. And then, you look down the list, receiver after receiver has found an opportunity to step up and really kind of do big things for us. Now, I think the focus today is that Kansas State is just so sound on defense. There aren't things that we can do like misdirection where eyes are going to be in the wrong place this week like they were last week. Something Coach Aranda said at the end of the game last year and said it again this year is that because of some of the injuries we had last year, we had to go down the rabbit hole in the playbook and figure out exactly what we wanted to run against such a sound defense.
Right.
And the hope is that today with us being healthier, we don't have to dig that deep, right? We just have to go out there and play consistently sound. And I don't think that this is going to be a one-directional game where either team goes up big. I think it's going to be chopping away, pounding that rock consistently, and that's a couple plays here and there is what makes the difference.
Let's talk about Squirrel. What he was able to accomplish on only 25 carries. Mr. Squirrel Williams, 25 carries, 192 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
And as far as I'm concerned, he could have been over 200 yards and have 3 touchdowns, but his unselfishness.
Right, let's
we
talk
keep talking about it.
The maturity of that, and that's something that we have seen. Not just individual players, but the maturity of this team and who they've become is exciting to see, and that is exactly what that was. And if you don't know what we're talking about, he was wide open at the very end of the game and totally could have walked into the end zone, but he instead decided to take a knee because it allowed Baylor to run out the clock and secure that victory so that the other team never even got the ball back in their hands. So props to him.
Absolutely. And Seth, I'm curious, when you've got a guy like that who'd been injured, he'd been waiting, you could hardly have blamed him for finishing it off with an exclamation mark. When a guy like that makes a play like that, what impact does that have on the rest of the team?
Yeah, it's that non-selfish nature, right, of this team, and I feel like they've really embodied that this year of just being able to just do your job, right? Hey, but then again, they probably were talking about that on the sideline, right? Hey, the coaching staff probably said, hey, be aware they may just let you slip through so they can get the ball back, right? Because they know they can't stop us running the ball. So that added together, I don't want to take away from anything with what Squirrel has done. I mean, that was a extremely smart and very mature decision to do. just as easily he could have walked in, but hey, we walked away with the W just as easily.
Yeah, that was a team win right there, and that's what we're all about. We'll be right back with more of the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show, and we'll take a look at those Wildcats and the scouting report for them right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Game day here on the Brazos. We welcome you back into the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. Counting you down to Baylor and 23rd ranked Kansas State today at the McLean Stadium. Hey, with a win, Baylor may be back in the top 25, but boy, a good Kansas State team stands in between the Bears and victory tonight. And Elliot, let's talk about this team. And let's start with defense first, because their signature has been hard-hitting football. It was last year. They play bruising defense. I think that's part of the reason I'm glad that Baylor has that big stable of running backs that we can talk about more. But you know they're going to bring it strong defensively.
I got injured twice in college, real bad. And one of them was against Kansas State, and my ankle has been injured and swollen for 10 years since.
No.
And so if there's any indication of how hard that football team plays, that is a well-coached, disciplined, very physical football team. Now, if you look at the athletes that they typically have on the field, they don't stack up compared to a lot of the teams down in what we consider the old Big 12 South. But as far as how they played the game, they understood how to control the clock. They understood pass rushes. They understood gap integrity. They did all of the things right. They never did anything to shoot themselves in the foot. You had to go out there and gain everything that you needed. They weren't going to give you anything. And so it doesn't matter how good we are, how bad they are, this is always a tough, tough game. And so looking at this defense, it is arguably the best run defense I think we've seen all season. I think the pressure that we can expect to see is matching pretty good with the fact that our offensive line is finally starting to click. But I'd expect this to be as physical of a game as we'll see all season. Remember what we looked like at Tech last year after that Kansas State game? Expect that same kind of violence out here today.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the Kansas State team is, I mean, they've always been a tough opponent, right? You can never write them off. They're guys that are coming. Like you said, they're not maybe not the most athletic on the field, but they're probably one of the best coached teams that we've ever played against, and I think today you'll be able to see that, transpose onto. But hey, our team is really well coached too as well, and so gap integrity, just being able to hit the holes hard and staying true to the offense, I think is going to be big for us today.
Well, and I think one thing to take note of is the fierceness that any team comes to the next week with after a loss.
Yeah.
Especially a loss at home. And they just suffered a loss against Texas at home when we're talking about this Big 12 race. They're very well aware of what's at stake. And so I'm expecting to not just get a normally well-oiled machine that's Kansas State, but one that's even hungrier, ready to look for that win to stay in this race. Because truly they kind of put it at risk with that loss last week.
Yeah, man, I got to tell you, that game against Texas last week was a heavyweight battle. I mean, Bijan Robinson, if he wanted to make a claim for being the Heisman winner this year, he did it last week. I mean, his ability to move in space, because that's kind of, I think, what we're going to see a lot of today is finding mismatches, because I think in the trenches you see a lot of similarities in terms of what we're going to run up front and the same kind of gap integrity you're going to see from the linebackers, but it's creating the mismatches. How do you get Deuce Vaughn out in space, right, one-on-one on linebackers? Or how do you get Richard Reese one-on-one? Or Quaylon Jones has kind of been the running back that we've had in space on one-on-one. You're going to see those, and then try to lull somebody to sleep, lull them to sleep, and then, boom, pop something over the top, right, with those little option routes. That's kind of what they've done consistently is, hey, how do we run it? They'd have the similar kind of mindset, pound the rock, run the same thing, run similar schemes, right? And I expect us to do that too. Give a couple different run looks up front early on, and then lull them to sleep and try to take them over top.
Let's talk about Deuce Vaughn. You take that away, sir.
Well, you're talking about a guy who is over 1,200 all-purpose yards at this point in the season. He does it on the ground. They find him out of the backfield through the air. And you look at what Baylor's defense is going to have to go up against. And, Seth, you played this kind of defense. You played this kind of offense, where you've got backs who can do it all. You've got a quarterback in Adrian Martinez who is at his best when he's both running and throwing. Baylor's going to have to take something away from that, which I know that's not particularly novel, but if you let them start rolling where both Martinez and Vaughns are doing it both with their legs and through the air, you've got some trouble.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed this year is our defense has had a tough time against running quarterbacks, right? Keeping them in the pocket. Martinez, he wants to run the ball, right? He may not. He's thinking run first and then maybe throw down the field. Hey, get it to Deuce, let him do what he does, make him work in space, and so. It's going to be tough to. We gotta make him move the pocket, but keep him where he can't just break loose and get 15, 20, 25, 30 yards, because that's where that momentum starts to kick in, and then that puts the defense on their heels. And so if we can stay ahead of them, keep them behind the chains early, make them throw an incomplete pass at first or run a negative play the first down. I think that's going to be huge leading into to today's game.
Now, I'm interested because a lot of what we've run this year is kind of like the too high safety look, and what that does is that has a hat on a hat on the front seven. And so if we do that right now, you got quarterback powers where you got a hat on a hat and somebody has to win to make a tackle, or you have a safety that's coming from deep, to make the tackle right now. And so do you see us move to like a single high look? Is it too late in the day to try to make that transition, right? Do we have some safety help, or what do we do? Because we have struggled with running quarterbacks, and I think a lot of it has to do with numbers, pure and simple, just the numbers in the box and the person that's stepping in there. You look at a guy like Al Walcott, seeing his development, right? He's starting to get used to being in the box and making those tackles, but he's going to be the guy that they're going to option off of. Is he out in coverage, or is he in there in the box making a tackle, and he's going to have to bring the hat because he's got a big old quarterback waiting on him when he comes in. And so that's kind of the key thing that I'll look at, too, is kind of that safety look, right? Too high, do we go single? We're going to go man across. What is that going to look like for us today? How do we find a way to corral everything inside without giving up the overtop look too?
All right. I'm excited to find out what they're going to do. We'll be right back to talk Baylor defense and how they're approaching this game. Don't go anywhere. It's the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show live from Touchdown Alley. take. Welcome back to the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. I'm Brooke Bednarz alongside Derek Smith, Elliot Coffey, and Seth Russell. We have talked about this Kansas State offense and defense. Now we're going into the Baylor defense and how they're going to stop those Wildcats. You have got to be chomping at the bit to be able to talk about this and this approach to this game. You did it a little earlier, but give you a chance to go into a little bit more detail here.
I was diving into it. I mean,
it's not like you played defense or anything.
Not like
for
I
the
played
Bears.
defense.
No.
Like, I don't have anything as good as like an Aranda McDonald's.
Oh, we'll talk about the Aranda analogies here in a minute.
But I just think this is so much about playing fundamental football. Like, just do your role, right? Be where you need to be. Make sure the guy next to you is where he needs to be, and make sure that when you're on one-on-one, win one-on-one as much as you can. No one expects you to win every play one-on-one, but win as much as you can one-on-one. And if you're out in space, break down, tackle, and more importantly than anything else, know where your help is. Is it the sideline? Are they coming from inside? If you're an outside linebacker, trust me, they're going to have that RPO look where they're going to see if you crash, and if you crash, he's going to carry that thing and he's going to run it all day. And so staying square to the line of scrimmage, making sure that you match as much as you can in that underlook, because you're going to have linebackers that are one-on-one with receivers that are, or running backs that are faster than them, right? And so you got to make sure that you just play fundamental football, because we can't give them anything, because this is the textbook definition of a game of inches. Mm-hmm. We got to go out there and make sure that we do everything that we can in our power. Don't shoot ourselves in the foot. Give them anything.
He alluded to it, but we're going to dive into it. One of my favorite things about head coach Dave Aranda is his high-level thinking. When I first met him, you can see him picturing the football game. It's the X's and O's. He talks with his hands, very much like myself, but he talks and he's moving players. When he's answering your questions, he is physically moving that linebacker into position and this and that, and that's how he thinks. But he knows we don't all speak that same language. So he has analogies for us, and I am a huge fan of it. And the way he described this is normally when you come into a football game, maybe there's some pre-packaged offenses that they have that they're taking care of. And then, therefore, when he's planning the defense out, he has a plan. He knows what's available to be ordered, and he's figuring it out. But here we are, and Coach Aranda said, no. Kansas State is like when you go through a drive-thru and you look at the menu, and they just pick what they want. They don't have to pick off pre-ordered anything. They pick what they want. They know what they want. They pull up to that next window, and then because it's so specially ordered, they have to pull off to the side to wait for it because they get to do whatever they want, and that's the type of running back room that they have. That's that quarterback who can throw and run, dual threat, truly. And Coach Aranda said, this running back room is where he wants our running back room to be. Mm-hmm. He said they're already there. It doesn't matter who's in that position. He thinks that they can be able to take it to where he said, quote, it's going to be a hell of a game. And I'm excited to see that. But I got to give it to Coach Aranda. I love those analogies. Let's talk about that drive-through. They're getting whatever they want. How do we stop that?
Yeah, I think that it could be a pro and a con, right? Because you could dive into it if you don't have a real solid game plan. Yeah, you have your full playlist and what you want to pick and choose. But if you don't have really anything that you really want to dive into and go to the well, I guess to say, then you can just be running random plays and not really having an idea of where you're headed. And so I think, but to be able to do that, right, is we got to get Martinez off his pedestal, right? We got to get him moving. We got to get him uncomfortable. We got to get him some pressure early so that he's looking and wanting to run, and so they don't have that passing opportunity, right? If he gets in any trouble, he's looking for Deuce. I mean, that's just the guy he's going to look for, and so if we can get Martinez to move, we can get Deuce doubled up or covered up at least. I think that's going to cause a lot of issues for them moving throughout the rest of this game, just because of that's what they've done all year, right? That's what they've proven time and time again is Deuce is that emergency release. And if we can keep him from getting that or just getting pressure to him early, I think that's going to be a huge key for today's win.
You mentioned the pressure. I mean, I think everyone knows the strength of this defense when it's really going well is the defensive line. Teams are going to try to take that away, and Kansas State certainly is capable of doing that.
Yeah.
How important is that going to be to not allow that secondary of those linebackers to be on an island one-on-one with a Deuce Vaughns or even a Malik Knowles or Cade Warner?
It's all about timing, right? Because if this team's – look at last week. What broke Oklahoma down was the timing of their plays were thrown off. because tips at the line of scrimmage and turnovers, right? Because once you can make a team, and this is everything that we're all kind of culmination of this, once you can make a team one-dimensional, you can scheme the crap out of them.
Yes.
Right, you know exactly what they're going to run. You can know exactly where those weak points are. They pulled off to the side. You know they're allergic to pickles, so you can throw a pickle on the sandwich, right? And so, what we're looking
no
to
mustard,
do here,
no mayo, no ketchup, dry.
just dry with the pickle. And so that's what I think that we're going to aim to do is that defensive line. We live and die by the success of the defensive line, both in the run game and in the pass game. If they get pressure, if they're disruptive, then it allows everything in the back end to get specialized to those different looks that Kansas State is naturally going to give us. And I think we're going to see a lot of them early on. And so pressure up front, we want to bring different looks, particularly from the linebacker position. If we can get them to try to throw the football, I think that we've shown over the last couple weeks we can intercept the ball. And so if they're stuck throwing that football and they can't run it the way they want to, that's trouble for them.
Yeah.
We're dreaming up great interception catches, great hands. It's a little chilly, but they're going to be all warmed up and ready to go. We'll be back with more of the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. Don't go anywhere. We're going inside the numbers right after this. Welcome back to the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. We have a huge matchup between the Kansas State Wildcats and the Baylor Bears. We're live here from Touchdown Alley. It's our military appreciation game. It is a blackout led by the fans and the students, and we're clearly loving it. And it is a very big game when it comes time to talking about this Big 12 race. And then we've broken down both teams. We've dove into the X's and O's, but now we're going to go inside the numbers, pick on a stat, and really dive down into how that part of the game will play a huge role.
Well, thanks, Brooke. You know, you've got two teams who win and they're in to get to Arlington, so both teams know it. This has been a bruising series really throughout the entirety of it.
Right.
And so looking at third downs, I think it could be as simple as which team is able to get the other team off the field on third down could be feeling good heading into next week. You know, last week against Oklahoma, you allowed them 10 of 15 third downs conversion success, and you needed 3 turnovers to win. That's really sort of unsustainable. Elliot, let's just start there. You know, we've talked a lot about what it's going to take to slow them down, but it really is going to come down to, can you force them into some third and longs, or maybe you force it on Adrian Martinez's right arm, and you got to find a way to get him off the field.
All back to being predictable, right, and one-dimensional, right? If you can create those third and long situations and we can get off the field, that's so big for so many reasons, I think not least of which is time of possession, right? That's something that we've been able to do that. You look at last week against OU in the fourth quarter, OU had the ball once. They had the ball one time in the fourth quarter. That's why they couldn't win.
You can't win if you don't have the ball.
You can't win if you don't have the ball. And so that's always been Snyder ball. That's always been Kansas State, is to control the line of scrimmage and control the clock. And if you look at us getting off the field on third down, if we cannot get off the field on third down, this isn't a team that's going to throw the ball and stop the clock. They're going to pound it and keep running it and keep running it. And so I think that's one thing. I'm glad to use this. I've been a little concerned about our third down conversion rate.
Over 50% in all but one Big 12 game.
All across the board, right? All across the board. Now, if you look at rushing defense and passing defense, we're actually ranked fairly high, but getting off the field on third down has really been kind of the weak spot for us. And I think a lot of that has to do with, once again, the pass rush, the defensive line, right, the different looks that we show. And so if we can go out there and we can maintain a line of scrimmage and get off the field on third down, like, Derek, that's a stat to watch today. I think is what we do on third down, not only offensively but on defense as well.
Defense, you want to get them off the field, and Seth, on the offensive side, third down is important. And I'll say not just converting third down, but getting yardage to make it fourth and short, because we know how Coach Randall likes to go for it.
We are, we are on top of that ball.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's just, so third down is just another play, so you don't have to try to get the first down, which I think I love, just kind of that mentality of, hey, we're going to use all four downs. I mean, that's what it's there for, right? Now, obviously, we got to be smart. The Coach Rain is going to make smart decisions.
Mm-hmm.
If we're backed up on our 30, we're probably not going to go for it.
Not going to do it again.
We shouldn't. We shouldn't do it.
I know we did back in the day, and sometimes it didn't work out too well for us. Most of the time, it didn't. But to go back to, I know it's a chess game. It's going to be a huge chess game today, and I think to kind of allude and feed into getting off the field on third down, I think Baylor has done a really great job of not giving up big plays. Right, because a lot of times you think, hey, you're going to bring pressure on third down, and you leave one-on-one, and that could end up in, touchdowns. Because our offense isn't designed to score a lot of points, right? Kansas State's isn't designed to score a lot of points, and so it's going to be a heavy grind. If they find success in the run game, the passing game is not going to be there. Like, they're going to keep grinding and busting it. And so if we can stop that early, like I said, make them one-dimensional, just in some capacity to let Martinez feel like he's comfortable enough to throw the ball, make him uncomfortable to where he has to throw it. And I think that's really where we're going to succeed today.
And, Brooke, we talked about Squirrel a little bit earlier. It was really nice seeing Squirrel come back last week. We didn't know, of course, that Richard was going to have the flu, but with him ready to go, you want to have him, Quaylen, and Richard all ready to go?
I want to see them all.
Because this Kansas State team can hit a little bit. I don't want anyone back taking 31 hits from Kansas State if we can avoid it.
Right, me either. And I think it's great to see even the mix-up. Sometimes on those third downs, we see Kyron Drones, and we mix it in there, and we get a different look in there. And I think that if we can get everybody healthy, hopefully the flu is long gone. We get everybody healthy. Maybe this cool weather killed it. Maybe.
That's right.
What's the flu?
We can fingers crossed. But if we can get everybody healthy, we can get the ball in all of their hands and truly be a running back room by committee, because we're all available. And then it's going to be a different look every time they get the ball. They each have their own strengths, which is what is so successful. And if they all are executing, I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, and I don't think that we've had a game yet where we've seen all three firing.
I don't think we have either.
Yeah, right. I think last week was clearly about Squirrel and Quaylen, because Quaylen, I think, was overshadowed by the 25 carries that Squirrel had and almost the 3 tutties that he had, right? But Quaylen had the best game I think he's had all season, really maybe in a Baylor jersey.
Yeah.
Right? And then you got Richard Reese that's had, 67 carries a week before, in the 2 weeks before that, right? And so I think if you can get those three in rhythm, it'll look different than it did when BYU in the second half where we stopped throwing.
Yes.
Not because we lost confidence in the pass game, but because we're so dominant on the ground that we don't need to throw the ball. Now, of course, once again, that goes back to the lull them to sleep, right? If you keep hitting them and you're averaging 3-4 yards a carry, then all of a sudden when you take the top off, how press he goes and get a circus catch. Well, this is a game of tug of war, right? I don't know why this analogy is just now popping up, but it's tug of war, right? It's back and forth, but it's in between those margins, right? It's back and forth, and eventually somebody breaks.
It's better late than never. Better late than never,
Right.
It's an exciting game. Exciting game. It's going to be down to the wire. It is a blackout. It is sold out, and it is our military appreciation game. We thank everybody for their service. We thank Todd Behringer for all of those free tickets, and we thank everybody for being out here watching the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. We will send it upstairs to John. He'll take it away for kickoff. We're 1 hour up until the Kansas State Wildcats and the Baylor Bears kick it off for what could be the big first game to the race to the final Big 12 championship game. I'm super excited about that.
Just win and keep winning.
Just keep
winning. Keep winning. It starts tonight. Thanks for watching.
This has been an exclusive presentation from Learfield.